Welcome back, guys. This is day 4 of rotational dynamics, and I remember giving this question yesterday night, right? I mean, not night, yesterday, in the last class. Some people already gave me the answer. Anyway, I'll have to discuss the question, so I'll just take up and solve the question right for you, and then we'll look at one or two more questions, and we'll move on to a new concept we need to learn today. Okay. So the question goes like this: there are two strings. They're not tied at the ends. One is tied at the end. The other is tied at a distance 1/4 meter. This whole thing is given as 1 meter, I guess. This whole thing is given as 1 meter. So obviously gravity acts at the middle, mg. It doesn't really look to the scale, but I'm sorry about it. This is mg, and tensions T1 and T2 are acting upwards. Okay, there are only three forces: tension 1, tension 2, and along with that, there is mg acting on the body, right? Let me take a new page. Tension T1, T2, and mg. So we have to consider both the linear equilibrium and angular rotational equilibrium also. Like the body is not moving at all. So linearly, the forces are zero, and obviously the torque acting on the body is also zero. So first thing that I can write is T1 plus T2 equals to mg, because these two are acting upwards, this is acting downwards, so T1 plus T2 equal to mg. That is cancelled. And now torque about which point? I've already mentioned this in the last class. You can take torque about any point in this case, since the body is not accelerating. I mean, the body is not moving at all. You can take about, I mean, the body is in rotational equilibrium about any point. I'd like to take this point as a hinge. It's our call, really. Like you can take about center of mass. You will get the same answers in any point. Why don't you give it a try? Like after the class, why don't you try to take talks about different points? You will definitely get the same answer. Anyway, I'm taking the torque about this point. So torque due to this one is zero because it is passing through the hinge. So I'm considering this as the hinge about this point. This is a pivot point. So this is zero. Torque due to mg will be in the clockwise direction, which is mg into half a meter, because it's always in the middle for a rod. The distance is half a meter. I didn't mention it, but we should know that for a rod, the center of mass must be at the middle. So mg into half in this direction. T2 acts, whoa, okay. T2, torque due to T2 acts in the opposite direction about this point, and the distance is 3/4 meter. I mentioned this as 1/4 meter, so the left length is 3/4 meter. So I've equated the torque T2 into 3/4. mg into 1/2 is in this direction, T2 into 3/4 in the opposite direction. So if you write the torques and balance each other, T2 is coming as 2 mg by 3. If you use T2 here in this equation, if you put 2 mg by 3 here, you will get this as mg by 3. So mg by 3 plus 2 mg by 3 is mg. It's a basic problem. Okay. I want to give one more problem. Let's see how quick you people can do this. Get ready, guys. Just check this problem also. This is also interesting. So I have two strings. Both the bodies are, I mean, the rod of mass m is tied at the ends only. Everyone knows the answer as T1 and T2 must be exactly equal. Like intuitionally, you can simply say this is mg by 2 and this is mg by 2. Intuitionally, you can directly say, since they're at the ends, they must balance the weight, they must carry the weights equally, so you don't have to worry. But I'm not giving, the problem is not over there yet. I'm going to extend the problem to a different model, which is I'm going to make a boy stand here. A boy of mass m by 2 standing at a distance L by 3, if this whole distance is L. Find the tensions now. I'm giving you half a minute, maybe. If you're good enough, you must solve this problem in half a minute. Try quick and give me the answers as quick as possible. If you have any doubts, please ask me right now. I still don't see any answers. You guys are late. Sir, so the system to be equilibrium, is it compulsory for the strings to be at equal length? No, Gopika. Gopika has asked a really good doubt. For the system to be at equilibrium, does the strings, do they have to be equal length. Gopika, just for you, I'm just giving you an example here. If the strings are like this, the system can be at equilibrium also. It's totally is possible. Okay, so they don't have to be equal length, but in this problem, I gave equal length only. In this problem, I gave equal length only, so you can give the answer. Oh, people already gave, Harshavardhan gave an answer. Harshavardhan, where is the G? And which value is that? You gave 5m/6. What is 5m/6? Is it T1 or is it T2? And you missed G completely. Come on, Harshavardhan. Give me the right answer. Oh, people are struggling to find the answers for this one. Okay, this is a good question. I consider them. This is a good mains level question, guys. This is not a silly question. Good mains level question. Okay. Sumantraj already gave an answer. I'm keeping it a secret. Let's see if Sumantraj's answer is right. Karthik also gave the same answer. Sumantraj and Karthik gave the same answer. Anyone else, guys? Sharath, guys, you're not mentioning whether it is T2 or T1. Venugopal also gave the answer, but Venugopal is, I mean, like one has mentioned for T1 and other has mentioned. Okay, you're confused with your answers now. Guys, keep your answers with you, but I have a quick question, like a straight up question. Which one is higher? Is it T1 or T2? Intuitionally, T1 is T1 higher or T2 higher? Immediately tell me. If is it T, everyone's saying obviously T2 must be a higher value, because like intuitionally you can clearly feel that the boy is standing towards a T2 string, so the tension in T2 must come obviously a higher value. Everyone's saying the same idea. Anyway, for people who didn't get it, I'm just making a quick explanation for that. Watch this thing. I'm just gonna delete this part so that there is no confusion. Okay. So the forces, what are the forces that are acting here? Come on, I chose green. I want green. Why? Why? I want green. Okay. mg m by 2g, and this is T1 and this is T2. So first expression that I can write directly is T1 plus T2 equals to mg plus mg by 2. That is one expression. You can take the torque about any point. You can, obviously everyone is giving the same answer almost except for Chetan. Chetan gave a random answer, I don't know. So this is first expression. You can take the torque about any point, literally any point. I'm choosing to take about this point. You know why I'm choosing to take about that point? So when I'm writing the torque, one of the variable is gone. We don't know T1 value, right? So it is gone. Like we are taking it out of the equation. So about this, T1 into perpendicular distance is 0. So I'm not even considering that. Both mg torque and m by 2g torque, both are in this direction only. So mg into L by 2, because this distance is L by 2, plus mg by 2 into this distance is 2L by 3. So that is 2L by 3. mg into L by 2 plus mg by 2 into 12 by 3. Both are clockwise. Only T2 torque is in the opposite direction. So equals to T2 into L, because T2 is acting at a distance completely, like perpendicular distance is L directly. Right. So if I solve these two equations, this equation and this equation, I must get the answers as everyone else. Everyone's saying T1 as 5 mg by 6, T2 as 2 mg by 3. So guys, in that case, you're getting T1 as a higher value, I guess. No, I don't think that those are the answers. Just make the calculation once properly. Okay. Make sure you wrote the torques, you wrote the real forces right. Make sure you get the values right and you'll get all the answers right. Okay, maybe you reverse the values or something like that. So just make the calculation right and you'll get the answer. Okay, now I want to move on to the next point, which is this. The problem is completely similar when you have a beam standing on two stands like this. When you have a beam standing on two stands like this, it's the same thing exactly. Gopika has a doubt. Gopika, tell me.
Yesterday's problem, if we take reference point as the extreme end of that rod, how to solve the problem, sir?
This problem,
Yes, sir.
yeah,
If we take that extreme.
this point, you're talking about this point, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. So in that case, what do? You take mg like this, mg's torque is in this direction, torque due to T1 and T2, it's like this and it's like this. So you write these two torques equals to mg torque, that's all. You'll get it. You'll get the same answers, Gopika, okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So guys, where was I? Yeah. So in this case, where a beam of mass m standing on two stands, we don't know what they are. Everything is same except we have normal force here, N1 and N2. If it is completely symmetric, the normal forces will be definitely the same values, mg by 2, mg by 2. But there is a question in HC Verma where a man stands here, this mass is some m by 5 or m by 6, I don't remember the value, and he walks to this point to that point. Like as he is walking, what happens? That is the question. As he is walking, what happens to the mass? What happens to the whole system? And there is another question also. You can basically say solve the same question, like it's the same thing, exactly the same thing. Instead of tensions, you can have normal forces and solve the problem. And they might ask one or the other values, like they might ask n1, they might ask n2, or any other value. And in the same problem, they actually have this kind of a question where the beam is like really long, and the man can only go up to a specific distance. If he goes beyond that point, the whole system will actually tilt. The whole system will actually tilt like this, right? So what is the safest point? Like how far from this point can he go? Like I'm going to give you a problem. The mass of this beam is m. This distance is some 10 meters. This has like very long length. Let us just say the beam has a very long length. What is this distance when the man's mass is also not m? I'll take the mass of the man as m, 2m by 3. Let's just say 2m by 3. This is a situation. The man's mass is 2m by 3. The beam's mass is m. And at what point, until what distance, until what x can he actually go to that extent, so that the beam, the situation is safe, so that the whole beam doesn't fall off. Okay. All you have to think is the whole system might tip over this system only, right? So you simply take the torque about that point. Mg creates a torque like this. Thus, that man creates a torque like this. All you have to do is just balance the torques about this point, and you will get the answer. Okay, it's a simple problem only. There isn't much to think about that problem. I hope it is clear for you people. All right, guys. So remember, whatever the problem that you're doing, we're only solving the problems for equilibrium for now. We're only solving the problems for equilibrium. So all you have to straight up do is write the forces, write the torques, equate them to zero. Net force is zero, net torque is zero, and voila, we've done the problem. We're through the problem. Okay, there is nothing else that we're doing. And as long as the system is at rest, you can take any point. Okay, there are hundreds of problems that I can give you, not just like the similar models. I can give you a different kind of models and ask you different kind of problems just on equilibrium only. So no matter what kind of a model that you're looking at, make sure the problem is always about like writing the force and writing the torque, and the problem is done. Writing the force, writing the torque, and that's it. Okay, no matter how different and how dangerous or how silly the problem looks. Okay, now let me move on to the next idea. Until now we only discussed the problems with equilibrium. What if the system is not in equilibrium? What if the body starts rotating? Let us say there is a disc hinged at the center. How do I write hinged? Yeah, hinged at the center, and somebody applied a force on it, and it started accelerating angularly. There is no equilibrium anymore. How do I relate this force to this angular acceleration? How do I relate this force to the angular acceleration? So straight up point, instead of considering a whole disk, I'm going to consider a single point, some random point it is, some random point, completely random point. That point's mass is some m, and it is at a distance r. Okay. So the point is obviously like if the disk is rotating with alpha, the point must also rotate with alpha. We remember that. No matter what the radius is, the angular acceleration is same. We've already discussed this point. So if it is going with alpha, it also is going with linear acceleration r alpha. This is also clear. A equals to r alpha. So for that specific point, let's just say some small force. This is not friction. I'm just writing it as small f. So there is some small force acting on it, equals to mass into acceleration. I can write. So mass into acceleration is nothing but r alpha. Okay. Clearly follow the whole thing. F equals to r alpha, m r alpha. If only I try to multiply on both sides, f into r equals to m r square alpha. Why did I do this? This F into R is nothing but the torque acting on that specific particle. I'm only talking about that specific particle. So the torque acting on that specific particle, torque on particle, let's just say, torque on only the particle can be written as mr square into alpha. Now we are arriving at something. Just like in the topics F equals to mass into acceleration, just like in the topics F equals to mass into acceleration, now we arrived at torque equals to some quantity into alpha. So just like we had mass is something. How do we used to feel mass? You push a body. If it is easily moving, less mass. If it is heavily moving, it is difficult to move that body. It is heavy, right? So that is how we used to feel mass. Like I even gave an example saying, imagine you're in space, you have a small ball floating, you have a big block floating. There is no friction, yet it is easy to move the small block. You hit it, it easily moves. But to move the big block, you have to put some force on it, right? It slowly gains the momentum. It's slow. There is a lot of inertia. There's a lot of inertia. That is how we used to feel the mass as. The same thing here. Same thing here. This term right here, which is nothing but this term right here is talking about inertia. It is talking about inertia only, except it is a rotational inertia. This is just a linear inertia. We can say that. I'm not sure if there is a word for that. The linear inertia is just an inertia that we feel in linear mechanics. But this is for the first time we're feeling is an inertia which is in the rotational inertia. They simply call it as moment of inertia. Moment of inertia. It is basically rotational inertia. It's nothing more than that and nothing less than that. So for the first time, guys, we're looking at the relation between torque on just the particle and the linear angular acceleration of the particle with the moment of inertia. We will get into terms what exactly is this moment of inertia slowly, but this is moment of inertia. And we are just considering for the particle. If only I want to consider the whole torque acting on the body, all I need to do is just a summation, right? And alpha is same for all the particles. So I'm leaving out alpha. So the entire torque acting on the body, the torque total acting on the body is sigma mr square into alpha. So this is the moment of inertia, MOI, let's call it as MOI. I heard this word somewhere, MOI. Mystics of India, some Sadhguru video, I remember. So anyway, MOI, the moment of inertia of the entire body. That is what we're looking at, sigma mr square. Now, what exactly is this moment of inertia? Let's just take a step slowly and get to the point. Because all you need is a plain old summation of mr square, whatever. Let's just take a axis. There is a particle m1 at a distance r1. There is a particle m2, it's a distance r2. And there is another particle which is m3, which is at a distance r3. And all of them are rotating about this axis. What is the moment of inertia of the system? Very simple, m1 r1 square plus m2 r2 square plus m3 r3 square. m1 r1 square plus m2 r2 square plus m3 r. That is the moment of inertia of the system, that's all. Okay, so if only there is on the entire system there is a torque acting. So the torque is nothing but this moment of inertia into alpha of the, remember alpha is same for all the particles which are rotating in a single system. We've already talked about it. So alpha of the particle. Just like F equals to ma. If only if you didn't ever question what is F equal to ma, please don't even question this. If you question that and you have learned something already, what is F equal to ma? The force, the inertia, the acceleration of the system, all of them are related in a single point. It's the same thing, except everything is rotational. The rotational force, which is nothing but torque, the rotational inertia, the angular acceleration. This is how they're related. Now, I need to, I want you to understand this point more and more like clearly. Moment of inertia is not just depending on the mass, it is also depending, all are in the same three plane. No, they don't have to be in the same plane, Karthik. That's a good doubt. They don't have to be in the same plane. That is the point. The moment of inertia is plainly, this is a scalar quantity. There is no vector. Clear? There is no vector. It is plainly depending on the mass. It is plainly depending on the mass and the distance from the axis. That's all. They don't have to be in the same plane. Let's just take another situation where I hope I can draw this for you. Let's just say there is x-axis and y-axis and z-axis. A particle is here, a particle is here, a particle is here. Why don't I just take that system 3D? We have the 3D thing, right? 3D calculator. Yeah. So let me take some points and place them on some positions. Whoa, I've already placed them somewhere. Yeah, let it be. So you look at this, or let us just imagine all the three particles are in this plane. Now, as long as they are at a distance, let us just say put them at 2, I put them at 2, I put them at 2. The moment of inertia of this system, if only the entire system is rotating, how will they rotate? They combinedly rotate. This rotates, all the three are combinedly rotating. The moment of inertia, this m into r square. So m into r square for this, m into r square for this. Let us just imagine I change the positions of the particles to, I change this to this point. Did the moment of inertia change? No. The position has changed, but the thing that didn't change is the distance from the axis of rotation. Here, the blue axis is the axis of rotation about which the body is rotating, like the system is rotating like this, let us just say. Not like, yeah, like this. The system is rotating like this. So that blue axis is the axis of rotation. So it doesn't matter. All it matters is it's just the distance from the origin, like this distance, and this distance, and this distance. That, sorry, not the origin. It's just the axis. Okay. And also it doesn't have to be on the axis also. Like let us say it is somewhere around here where the distance is still 2 units. I'm not sure the distance is exactly 2, but let's just say the distance is still the 2 units. The moment of inertia is still the same. And like Karthik asked, do they have to be on the same plane? No. I can simply take any of the particles. Let's just say take, I'm sorry, it got closed. I'm taking the particles again. It crashed. It shouldn't crash, but it did crash. So let's just say I took 3 particles, all of them at a distance 2. It is crashing again. Let's leave it, guys. So all the 3 particles, they don't have to be on the same plane again. Okay, like the particle can be in the upper plane, but the distance is still the same thing, 2 units only. The moment of inertia is still the same value. The moment of inertia is not changing. Aditya is asking, sir, where r is the distance, not the position vector. No, r is not the position vector. R is simply the distance from the axis. It's not from this point also. Like you have xyz plane, xyz. Let us say 2 particles on xy only, but the third particle is here. So not even in this plane. It is somewhere around here from the same distance from the axis. So it is always just the distance from the axis that matters. Let's just try it one more time. Let's just hope it doesn't crash. I'll show it to you people. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. You see that? I have taken that C particle into another plane. Yet the important thing is it is still at the distance 2 units from the axis only. It is still at a distance 2 units from the axis only. So this thing, like the moment of inertia is still the same thing. It is all about mass and distance from the axis only. Distance from the axis, that's all. Okay, so no matter how the system is distributed, no matter how the whole thing is, it is about how the mass is distributed from the center, sorry, from the axis of rotation only. Okay, now before we going theoretical, I want to show one more example. I have my dumbbell right here to understand. You see my dumbbell, right? Let's just stop the sharing for a minute. I hope you can completely see my dumbbell. Yay. Yeah. So the dumbbell has a mass. This is a 6 kg dumbbell, I guess, right? So the dumbbell already has a mass. But like whenever I'm trying to put a force, I'm clearly feeling the mass. Like I feel the momentum, I feel it moving forward or moving backward for sure. But how do I feel the moment of inertia of the dumbbell? Try to rotate a dumbbell like this. Try to rotate the dumbbell like this. In another situation, try to rotate the dumbbell like this. In which situation is it difficult? This is a case one. Let's just call it as this is case one. And this is case two, guys. In which situation is it difficult to rotate the dumbbell? Is it this case or is it this case? So obviously people are saying case two is difficult because in this situation, the axis of rotation, every mass, most of the masses are very near to the axis. Even though mass is same, it is completely near to the axis. But when I do this, this is the axis of rotation and the masses are distributed away from the axis. And I clearly feel it on my wrist that it is much difficult to rotate the dumbbell about this axis. So this is how you simply feel the moment of inertia, guys. Yeah, the mass is completely the same thing. It is clearly depending on how it is distributed away from the axis. That's all right. So I hope that is clear. Let me put it down. Yeah. And get back to the screen. So I hope you understand what is basically meant by moment of inertia. It is about how much of inertia are you offering rotationally. Okay, and we even have a theoretical expression to that. Moment of inertia is written by I. So torque equals to I alpha, and where I is nothing but sigma of mr square. Basically, the summation of the value of mr square, the summation of the value of mr square through the entire system. That's all. Very simple. Okay, so I have an axis. Let me give you a problem where I give you some situation and you have to give me the moment of inertia of the system. X, Y, Z axis. Z axis is the axis of rotation. I'm giving 2 kg here, and at a distance 3 units, I'm giving one more 2 kg, and I'm at a distance on the Z axis for 3 meters, I'm giving 4 kg. Axis of rotation is Z, guys, and on this axis it is rotating. Please try to give me the moment of inertia as quick as possible. Obviously, units are what? Moment of inertia, I equals to mr square, sigma mr square, kg meter square. Those are the units in case you're wondering. Can you give me the moment of inertia? Karthik already gave me the answer. Anybody else? Karthik even gave the answer with the units. Anybody else, guys? One important thing, whose moment of inertia is 0 in this case? Some part, yeah, obviously the moment of inertia of this mass is 0 because it is on the axis. We don't have to consider this. Even if you want to consider it, the moment of inertia is 2 into 0 square. For this, 2 into perpendicular distance is 3 meters, so 3 square plus 4 into 3 square. So the answer will go as 9 2 is 18 plus 9 4 is 36, so it is 54. So yeah, everyone gave the same answer. It is 54 kg meter square. That is how you simply find the moment of inertia. Now let's just look at a body which is quite very simple. Let us just hope that this won't crash this time. I'm clearing all, clear all. Yeah, clear all. And I'm trying to draw a shape on this. Let us just hope it won't crash. A circle. Nope. A circle axis. No, let's just leave this thing and go back to thing. I forgot how that thing works. And this is the axis of rotation. Now there is a circular ring who's passing through the center itself. Like that is how the shape is. Okay. Now guys, clearly observe, this is the easiest example that you can think of. The whole ring, each and every mass in the entire ring is basically at a distance r. What is the moment of inertia of the circular ring? Can anybody give me the answer? Let us just imagine the ring's entire mass is m. Sir, if the body is having a continuous mass, we are having to take the center of mass. No, 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 no. Aditya has asked a good doubt saying, guys, leave this question out. Aditya asked a very good doubt here. So I need to talk about Aditya's question right now. Let us say in the previous problem only, x, y, z axis is present. I've only considered until now simple point masses. What if I have a big mass here? What if I have a big mass here? At a distance, some distance is mentioned. Some distance is mentioned. And what is the moment of inertia of this thing? What is the moment of inertia of this thing? If only you consider the center of mass, that is the biggest blunder. So that is why I'm crossing so big. No, you do not consider the center of mass and consider the whole only center of mass is rotating about this axis. No, you do not do that. Okay, because moment of inertia is no way related to center of mass. So how do you do that problem? X, Y, Z axis, and you have this random body. What you need to do is, and Z is the axis of rotation. About Z axis, the body is completely rotating like this. All you have to do is you take all the little masses in this body. So there are so many bodies rotating about this axis. They have to consider the moment of inertia of all those little bodies. You have to add the summation and find the answer. If you do this, you are dead. If I find you doing this, you are dead. Okay, there is center of mass has literally nothing to do with moment of inertia. So I mean, we will have that idea later. We will talk about it, but no, the center of mass, you do not consider that. Okay, you have to consider each and every mass separately and write the summation of that thing and find the moment of inertia separately. Okay, so thanks Aditya for asking that. I hope it is clear. You have to consider each and every mass separately, and I'll tell you why. It's a simple reason. Like in center of mass, you're writing sigma mr, right? So there are positives and there are negatives. There are positive values and there are negative values, and they're getting balanced. Here, when you're writing moment of inertia, you're writing mr square. There is no positives and negatives to get balanced. So this is the case. You have to consider all the masses. You cannot take the center of mass. You have to consider all the little masses and do the problem. So coming to the problem of ring. Coming to the problem of ring, if the ring is like this in this plane, I have to consider all these little masses, or have to consider all these little masses. Let us just consider this little dm mass. It is at a distance r from the axis of rotation. It is at a distance r axis of, from the axis of rotation. Why don't I show it in the shaper, which could be a lot more easier, right? Yeah. No, 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 no. Why don't I delete this body and start fresh? Delete body. Delete body. Yeah, now we can do it. Watch this thing. Array, come on. This is a ring and I have to bring a offset. Where are these offsets? I don't remember how this works. Yeah, now I can bring an offset. Yeah. Finally, yay. Now we have a ring. And let's just imagine. Okay, people are asking doubts. What is the doubt? If the radius of the ring is R, the moment of inertia must be, oh, people are giving answers, mr square. If the Karthik already gave the answer. Raghav also is saying something. Let's look at this thing. This is the axis of rotation, right? Disk is about rotating about this axis, and I'm taking some dm mass at a distance r. Let me say, bring up the size of this pen. So the moment of inertia of this part is simply dm into r square. All I have to do is sigma dm into r square. But the best part is r is constant for any mass that you're considering here. R is constant for any mass that you're considering here. So I keep on adding all the masses. All I end up with is simply the moment of inertia is just mr square. That is the best part about the ring. I hope you clearly get it. So the moment of inertia of this entire ring is basically mr square. That's all, because the whole mass m, the entire mass of the ring m, is basically at a distance r from the ring. That's all. So that's the best part about the ring. Now, I have another question for you. Let's see if I can do this or not. A sketch line. Can I do the trimming? No. I'll have to do a rectangle. No, line. Yeah. Yep. Let us take a ring like this. Okay. I hope you all can see this. Let us take a ring like this where some mass is moving. Sorry, some mass is removed. But the mass of this leftover part is m1. The mass of the leftover part ring is m1. Yet from the axis, this whole m1 is at a distance. So the moment of inertia is m1 r square now. Previously, we have a full ring whose mass is m. So the moment of inertia is mr square. Here, even though we removed this part, this mass is clearly still at a distance r only. So the distribution didn't change. The mass changed, so that I clearly changed the mass. Sorry, yeah, let's take it as capital R only. The moment of inertia is still r square, m1 r square. Okay, that is the beauty about this thing. I can even give you saying one more idea, saying if only sum of the ring, like in this xyz axis, half of the ring is here and the other half is in another plane, let us say like this. Here the axis of rotation is still this. It's all about the distance from the axis of rotation. It is still the same. So this is m by 2 r square, the moment of inertia of this part. The moment of inertia of this part is also m by 2 r square. So the moment of inertia is still the same thing. I hope you're getting that. Moment of inertia about this, you need to feel this idea, guys. Clear? Now, let me take you to another idea here only. I don't want to draw any lines. All the lines be gone. Yep. Now, can somebody tell the moment of inertia of this body? Let us say the mass of this bigger body. Can I move this entire shape? Yeah, I can move. Oh no, I cannot. Anyway, so this entire shape, the moment of inertia of this entire shape, let us say this entire mass of that cylinder is capital MS. Let us just call it as MS. The best part is this is the axis of rotation. Let's just say this is the axis of rotation, and all the mass is still at a distance r from the axis only. So ms into r square only. The moment of inertia is still ms into r square only. Yes, Karthik, you gave the right answer. Moment of inertia is still ms into r square. This is how you need to feel the moment of inertia, guys. Okay, it's about how far the mass is from the axis. All you need to do is take little masses. This mass is here. If you consider somewhere around this mass, you need to consider this point. So all these masses are clearly at a distance r from the axis. So ms into r square is the moment of inertia. Aditya has a doubt. Yeah, Aditya.
Sir, what if this axis is towards one point near and other point it is a bit far?
That is a topic for tomorrow. Okay, we will be talking about that tomorrow. Moment of inertia of what if the axis is tilted to the towards, or what if the axis is perpendicular. All those problems will be discussed in another idea which is called as perpendicular axis or parallel axis theorem. There's a formula for that. I mean, not a formula, there is a theory also. I will discuss that, but that is how it is. Like, I will discuss that tomorrow. But for today, you understood this part, right? If you understood
Yes, sir.
this clearly, we're done. And yeah, I want to discuss more bodies, obviously. Let us discuss a body where the mass is not just at the same distance. Let us discuss a body. For a body, this is XYZ axis. Let's just imagine. And there is this rod like this. Whole rod, like the whole rod is rotating about this axis. What do you do in this case? Obviously, like Aditya, what do you do in this case?
Sir, I will cut out small infinite number of masses and integrate it from
Beautiful.
0 to 12.
So all you need to do is you take some mass at a distance x. Guys, clearly observe what I'm doing. We will be doing the same method for a lot of problems. Yet you people ask, the mass of that thing is dm. So the moment of inertia of that little bit, which is rotating about the z-axis, which is the axis of rotation, this little mass, let us call it as di, which is equals to mass into the axis of rotation. The distance from the axis of rotation is nothing but x square. That is the moment of inertia. All I have to do is integrate. But what is dm here? In the rod, we've already talked about it. For full length, the mass is m. For
We will
dx
take that
length, mass is
linear
nothing but
density.
m by l into dx. I hope you all remember this thing, how we wrote it.
Linear density formula.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to take that linear density formula.
Exactly, linear density formula. Or you can, like, if you're really being dumb, let's just do it this way. For Ln, the mass is m. For dxn, the mass is dm. You cross multiply, you get dm equals to m by l into dx. You've done this thing in school a lot of times, right? You can do that
In COM
again.
also we did, sir. Center of
What?
mass. In center of mass by
Yes, yes.
proving
Yeah. In
that
center
it
of
was.
mass also, you might have done this thing. X square. So this simply becomes I of the rod. M by L is a constant. I'm bringing it out. So integral x square dx. Where do we need to integrate it from? From this end to all
0 to L.
0 to L. Exactly. 0 to L. What is the integration of x square, Aditya?
X square, it will be x cube upon 3.
Right. 0 to L. So m by L into L cube by 3. L cancels out, brings L square. So the moment of inertia of a rod, ml square by 3, about an end. Guys, you can't just leave this value for everything. Okay, you need to be really careful about this thing. The moment of inertia of a rod about one of its end, if only the axis is shifted, like if only the rod is shifted here, let us say here, the moment of inertia definitely changes. Okay, the moment of inertia definitely changes. If only you use some common sense, let us say somebody left out L by 3 on this side, 2L by 3 on this side. All you need to do is integrate for this part separately, integrate for this part separately. Here 0 to 2L by 3, and again take the other side 0 to L by 3. They add them, you'll get the answer. But there are easier ways to do it. So for now, just remember this value only, ml square by 3. There are other ways to do this problem, but I'm just giving you a glimpse of what moment of inertia is. Okay. Now, there is a new word. Wait a second. We will discuss a lot of bodies, moment of inertia tomorrow. There are tons of bodies. I have to discuss disk. I have to discuss different bodies. I have to talk about a lot of ideas. I won't do that today, but I will give you a new word. There is a thing called radius of gyration. Radius of gyration. No matter what is the moment of inertia that you get ml square by 3 just now, right? Or you might get 2 by 3 ml square. You might get any random value. Like you will get tons and tons of different values. You will get 2 by 5, you will get 2 by 3 in different bodies. For different bodies, you will get different values. No matter what you get the value, you simply always equate to mk square. Only mk square. There is no constant right before that. Always try to equate it to mk square. And k here is called as radius of gyration. The value k is called as radius of gyration. To feel it practically, to understand radius of gyration practically, you will have to wait for a few more days. Okay, by the end of this topic, you might practically understand the idea of radius of gyration. But for now, whenever you find a problem where the ask a radius of gyration, try to find the center of, sorry, moment of inertia of the entire system. Try to equate it to mk square. Try to write the moment of inertia. Try to equate it to mk square. That's it. You find the value of k. That is the answer for radius of gyration. Now, guys, this is a way too long of a class already. I mean, it's almost what, 50 minutes, I guess. I hope I made sense about moment of inertia and radius of gyration. I'm suggesting you to watch this class right after now. Okay, watch this class again so that you get a very clear idea. Tomorrow we are going to discuss a lot more bodies, and then you will get a much better idea, and we'll get into further topics slowly. All right. So right before I end the class, any doubts just regarding today's class? Any doubts? Anything? Okay, I don't see any hands raised. So I'm clearly suggesting you to watch this video again. Chetan has a doubt. Chetan, tell me.
Sir, if a cone for finding,
we will discuss all different bodies: cone, funnel, sphere, cylinder, hollow cylinder, solid cylinder, and a human being, and all. Yeah, we will discuss a lot of bodies. Don't worry. Today is just an introduction, how you need to look at moment of inertia. That's all. Okay.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Aditya and Sai Vamshi. Anyone can speak. Yeah. Aditya.
Sir, what if this body has an variable density?
Oh, that's even more difficult. Yeah, the problems get really difficult. Okay, like we will discuss that. Now, I won't probably discuss that in the class because it's way too, way too time taking of an idea. Okay, so I won't probably discuss that idea in the class, but yeah, we will discuss that for sure. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So that's it, guys. We will talk about tomorrow. We will talk about a lot of problems tomorrow. So watch this class today again, and we'll be ready for tomorrow's class anyway. All right. Thanks so much, and we will meet again tomorrow. Bye-bye.